Welcome to the Mentors by Design podcast. In this show, Fine Design CEO Victor Kostrup brings ideas and inspiration through thought-provoking conversations with entrepreneurs and experts. Whether you're just getting started on your journey or are a seasoned business owner, this show is designed to give you insight into what it takes to succeed. Here's your host, Victor Kostrup.
Hey guys, Victor here, and it's another episode of Mentors by Design. I'm sure you guys not blind to what's been happening in the world around us. We have war, inflation, which some people say it's more like recession, but I want to remind you that these are the unique times, to put it mildly. Why? Because in challenging times, we can either focus on obstacles or opportunity. And in most cases, to make that happen, we need a plan. Heck, not just a plan, but a new, powerful, shifting world plan. And that's why I'm so pleased to welcome my new guest today is Brooke Sousa, whose life testimony have inspired many, many people. Brooke, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'll be honest, when I read your biography, I was astonished. You claimed the title of the world's strongest woman, and that would happen not too long ago in Norway, competing against the other 21 other professionals from around the world and in different events. So my question is, when you were available, how long it took you to get to that level, to such a high level of competition? How long it took you to get there?
You know, it only took, I think it was like 3 years at that time. But, the backstory of just being raised as like a fat kid and being a mom of 2 girls. So having that on my plate in my history, it was like, and I had never worked out until I was 29 years old.
Wow.
And the time that I won my title, I was 35.
So 35, that's when you won. And then you're saying it took you only 3 years. So I just like how you able to say about yourself, you must have a good self-esteem, but to name yourself race as a fat girl, that takes a lot of courage to say it mildly.
I had to go through a weight loss journey, and then I ran a marathon before even starting to lift weights, because for women, we're told, let's just go jump on a treadmill and that's what we do, right?
So, but that takes a lot of motivation. What inspired you to go and compete in such a level, especially marathon? I mean, it's like when I told my wife, who I will be interviewing today, she said, and I said, well, Brooke was able to inspire so many people, and she said, I hope she inspires you. Because I still have trouble to get up each morning and go and exercise.
Well, when I got started with my weight loss journey, it was important for me to tell my girls, my youngest was a year old. And I was like, okay, time for me to go to the gym and get healthy. And I even had a lot of backlash from other stay-at-home moms. They're like, who watches your kids? And I'm like, their dad. And so I had to just train my mind and my family. Like, I need to go to the gym to go and get healthy, because it's not okay to be this heavy. And then I was like, okay, well, I met my weight loss goal. And a gym owner told me I would pound the ground if I ever ran. And I was like,
wow.
Okay, well, still the thought process is, as Americans view, women should run. So I went ahead and did one of each race and finished with the marathon that year. And then after the marathon, I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to do an ultra marathon. Like, that's ridiculous. So a guy that I was working with was like, oh, your first strongman competition's in 3 weeks. And then I was like, I don't even know what that is. I lift 12-pound dumbbells in group fitness classes, and they call me She-Hulk because I'm lifting the heaviest dumbbells. So She-Hulk became my stage name. And my very first competition, I had 3 weeks to get ready for it. And the deadlift was, which is picking weight up from the ground, for those that don't know, was 225 pounds for reps.
Wow.
And that first show, and I walked into that room and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are like, these women are all different sizes and shapes. And none of that matters. All that matters is how much you can lift.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, women have so many responsibilities, especially with raising kids, for a majority of the percentage of moms out there, right? So I was like, well, I'm going to go and become world's strongest woman. And people are like, well, I thought you were just going to do one show and be done. And I'm like, oh, no. And not until all the weight in the gym is lifted at one time am I going to be done. And at that point, it was 3 years later, I got my title, World's Strongest Woman. And then a year later, it was America's Strongest Woman. So it's kind of funny how they fell opposite from each other. I just focus on yourself and you have that goal and you find it all the way till the end.
So having the goal, you would say that's probably the most significant thing that make you go after, because were connected to the goals, right?
I actually now that I'm in real estate, I completely disagree with that.
Oh,
I
wow,
feel like,
that's
it's
interesting.
so easy to talk about motivation and, oh, if I don't have motivation, it's like, I think it comes from drive. And drive is deeper than motivation. It's something that you're not putting into one thing to get you to your goal. I also, when I hear goals, it's kind of like, all right, well, that's just an idea. You have to have a why. You have to have a why of why you want to do something so deep within that no matter how tempting or how bad your day is or how much is on your plate, you are always going to find a way to get to where you want to go. So when I got my pro card, there was not even a pro division yet. And I said, I'm going to get my pro card on my 2-year anniversary. And I got it right on the 2-year anniversary. I was competing in Florida. And, it happens. You just visualize it, within but in order to have that goal or whatever you want to reach, what I'm talking about is where that drive comes from. You have to be squared away within yourself. If you don't know yourself and what you're about and what your needs are and like what you're sensitive to or what you need to, push yourself towards, you are never going to reach that goal.
So
So
what
that you
is your
can
why? What is your why? What is your why? What is your why back then, and what is your why today for wherever you do now?
back then, when my daughter was a year old, I never wanted my girls to struggle with weight the way I did. And the only way for me to be a leader or to, be the example, whatever, is to put myself through whatever kind of hell I have to do first in order to help others. So that's why I ran the marathon. That's why I did weight loss. That's why I went and competed, it's just to show women that they can be anything, no matter if we're a wife and mom. Also, for my girls, I want them to see that, I can be all these things and still take care of them, to teach them how to go find their own people, to be independent and go after whatever they want to be in life. And that all started with me. So that was my why for losing all the weight and going and competing. Every
That makes
platform was a
sense.
different way for me to challenge myself. It wasn't about being first place. There were
Hmm.
so many. I mean, I went and finished a competition with a torn bicep in 2020.
Wow.
Why did I finish? Because my kids were out in the audience. And if I quit when things got hard and hurt, right? Like, then I want to teach them that when things get hard and are painful and, not perfect, that they're going to quit too. And that to me, is just so unacceptable as a parent or a person of society. And I don't know. So now my why in real estate is, or in life in general, my purpose is to help people. And again, that starts back to the core value of me, making sure that I'm squared away. I know who I am and what I want, and that there's opportunities all around me to help others.
That's a great story. I do agree. Why would have to play a biggest role, because it gives us a purpose. It gives us the meaning in life. So speaking of those two titles and of your great successful journey, is I know it didn't start there, right? Who helped you on the way?
People are meant to come in your life and leave all different types and, timelines or chapters. So there
But
are
did you,
so many
I
people.
mean, it's like you must have going through a lot of self-doubts, and they're adding doubts from other people. Did you have anybody who was like a mentor to you, who would help you to have a right mind to deal with those doubts, or you were just able to deal with all of this garbage on your own?
That's a tough question because I feel like there were so many people that were part of my journey and that are part of my life for every type of negativity to positive to self-doubt. I mean, I have my people for every little feeling or thing that I'm going through to call on, and they're
Well,
always there.
let me put it this way. I know for a fact that once your girls they will be at your age or much younger, and if they have to go through any endeavor, you will be there. You will be there as a mentor, not only mom, but you will be there as a smart, wise coach. You will coach them through without even them knowing that. I know that. So I'm asking
Yes,
you, did you have that person in your life?
I can't say that I did. There's not like,
Once you
obviously
got, once you got to the athletic life, did you had a good coach? Like we know,
I,
like right now, if you watch any professional sport, who's taking the blame? It's always coach. It's like the athletes is like all the same, but it's all up to coach.
but see, again, I disagree. I feel like, again, it is only me who can let myself down. It is no one else's responsibility to live my life or to, get me to where I want to go. That all comes from within me. And those are taking extreme ownership over yourself. It's no one to blame about your situation. And so I had a pretender coach for the first 2 years of competing. He thought he knew what he was doing. And it took me a while to find the right coach. And obviously I was coachable. You have to do it the people who know more than you and where you want to go.
Can we look at on your journey? Can we look at your life and see what kind of challenges did you have to overcome on the beginning, and the challenges you met later in life, and for example now as well? If we could rewind and see your the first challenges.
First challenges, 8 years old and realizing I was overweight and being made fun of for my weight. So
Can I ask you how heavy you were at that time?
I had just turned 9. We were at Thanksgiving and I was being made fun of for weighing as much as my pregnant aunt at the time. And we
Oh
both
wow.
weighed in scale at 180 pounds.
I see. So it is
So I
very,
had,
very heavy. Yeah.
yeah, and I had no clue like what that was, like we only do things that we're taught, right? No matter what we're doing in life. And so I battled with weight as a teenager and was anorexic and thinking like that was the way to lose weight. I didn't know
Wow.
any right way. I started working at 9 years old. So it's easy to, buy my own stuff, whether it's food or bigger clothes or whatever it was. I didn't know the difference. I didn't know about working out. So I had a lot of those things that just was on my mind of like, okay, well, how do I find the right people to get me to where I want to go? I could accept that, oh, well, it's just genetics and this is just the way of life. But no, I know there's a way to be better. And that's the same thing with my girls. I don't want them to know that I don't have to be their only person that supports them or is always there for them. Like, because I'm not always going to be around.
That's
And I
right.
don't want them to quit living their life because I'm gone. No, they need to know that there's people everywhere to help them become whoever they want to be.
No, and obviously you showed that through your example. It's like the best way to teach other is through your example. And not only that you were successful in achieving your life in these goals in athletic, but also I read there is tremendous results in real estate business as well. Could you tell us about that as well?
I'm going to start first with like how no matter what it is you do, life always circles around. So it is like starting real estate. Yeah, it can be intimidating, scary. I didn't know anything about it. For 13 years, I said I would never buy a house again. And now to date, I have bought 78 houses in the last 2 years.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So
That is
one
a
of those things
miracle.
where, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was scared of the things I didn't know. And so I started educating myself. And I told my girls, I'm like, look, you guys have supported me physically and emotionally through, training and competing. I said, what I'm asking you guys is to allow me to have 1 year, sacrifice 1 year with me. And so I tore myself down the same way I did in training. And I said, I want to challenge myself now financially, not financially, just like, oh my gosh, I can't make bills work, right? But I want to challenge myself to make $1 million in 1 year. And it scared me to death to ask them. I'm like, oh, I just want to make and I was just trying to present this vision of like where I knew I could take our whole entire lives and other people's lives a part of this journey. And I needed their support. And they're like, mommy, like, why are you doing this? You've been working 6 hours a week for the last 7 years, pre-COVID, and I was just like, well, COVID took my personal training business. We got to find a solution because I'm refusing to change back, time before I became a
Right.
personal trainer. And so they're like, okay, like my ex-husband came, helped me pack up the kids and, he took them so I could live out of my suitcase for a year and even the cats. And they were on board. They saw me start and like work 20-hour days and go through hell to create this. And I was just like, I'm going to work every day like it's 3 days in one. I am not going to waste your time in you supporting this goal. And I ended up doing that 1 million in 4 months.
Wow. They are saying that the most difficult time in real estate, that is the first 6 months, because you basically have to prepare yourself for nothing. Just a lot of work and nothing in return, no rewards. And you saying in 4 months you achieve such a tremendous results. So let me understand that I understand you correctly. So pre-COVID, you were a professional training. And then
Yes,
when COVID happened, because of that, you could not offer any more training because of the physical contact. Therefore, you had to find absolutely new niche for the income because was nobody else to support you there. So
correct.
it something comes to your mind. How did you came to the idea of real estate? Why not like a construction business or I don't know, accountant, but you came to the real estate?
I didn't even own one tool before 2020. Okay. It was like this pocket sized knife, screwdriver all in one type deal. Okay. So it's not like I do construction. I read one book since high school. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so I read over 100 books within the last like 18 months. And, it's just like one of those things where I wanted something that was going to be pandemic proof. I was not going to go through this again another 13 years from now because I had just gotten over, the crash of 2007, right? It was like December 2019. I became debt free from all that happened to me from 2007
Wow,
crash. Okay.
that's unbelievable.
And then this happens. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not starting all over again. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do this again when I'm like
Yeah.
53 years old, right? So I was thinking, all right, let's build something that's, completely bulletproof. We got little savings accounts everywhere with each little house. So no matter where my girls go in life, and like they work for me as well, I don't let them have anything for free, but just because I've gone on this journey. And so they, it's just neat to see, like, if we want anything, we go and buy a house first and put the work in, or make sure we have an asset to pay for our lives moving forward.
So can I ask you how old are your girls now?
They are now 17 and 12.
And they are working for you, and you pay them as well for any effort that they are making in any achievement. That's great. That's
So they both started at, $10 an hour. And then for each house that they did with me over the summer, they got an additional like dollar raise, because then they were responsible for way more than just painting or clean up. It was okay now, electric and water lines. And even my youngest learned how to do HVAC. So it was just like really hands-on skills, a lot of work that has been lost in a lot of generations recently.
That's great. Something that I just noticed, because I'm a person and I like to analyze stuff. And at first, you had a long pause when I asked you about whether you had a coach in your life. I mean, especially like mentally, or a mentor, and you had a long pause. You just mentioned you read 18 books. That's part of the mentorship. So it is something that you have the impact on you, like an influence. Would you agree on that? That it come like, it's a store of a lot of information, but that information gives you in other words, the key, the solution, the ideas, like you said, the vision. All of a sudden you do have the vision. All of a sudden you say to yourself, oh no, I can do this as well. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I look at it as tools in my toolbox, right?
Oh,
Like when I
that's
was
good.
working out, it's like if you go into the gym and do the exact same 3 exercises every single day, every single month, for the rest of your life, because that's what you do, you're not going to become very strong. But if you have like the Mac Daddy of, exercises, you can become world's strongest woman or whatever you want to do, right? Same thing with whatever I do in real estate. The more knowledge I have and the more books and connections I have, that's more tools in my toolbox.
That's
So I can
right.
build a Mac Daddy of a, empire here. I just feel like it's a tool. I don't feel like it's a mentor, or like, I think people use mentor as like, you're really relying on that person to get you somewhere.
Yeah, like
And
depended, like you almost depended on it. Yeah, you're very undependable woman, and I respect that a lot. And I could definitely feel like you're very strong and undependable woman. But the way I see it is the meaning that I put in that word. Yeah, there is different connection to the mentorship. Like if somebody asks me for advice, that's already been kind of like a mentor. If I stay with you on this track and I help you to get there, that would be considered like a coach, a mentor. If you
See, I
ask
love
me,
that part of like a
right.
mentor, more like a coach, because to me, a mentor, like when you're hands on, like that to me is ultimate experience and help. A lot of times I look at a lot of mentorships that are around are just kind of like, well, we'll just sit here and talk about it. But I'm like, no, I really want to help somebody put action if I'm going to mentor them.
That's right. That's right. And it's what excites me the most if I see the results in the people that I'm trying to help. But is all you do, you give them the advice and after advice, another advice, another advice, and they kept collecting this information. And you think like you're this big guru of mentorship, but doesn't make any change in their life. Then what's the point of that mentorship? So
Exactly.
I see what
That's
you're
exactly
saying.
how I feel. Yeah. Because I
What
couldn't just say, like, let me like help you. I'm a personal trainer. I'm going to help you lose, 100 pounds. But here you haven't even lost the first five. So how am I guiding you and coaching you and mentoring you in the right direction if I'm not, knowing how to get you there? So again, it starts with me. And I guess that's like, I love seeing people win through me helping them, because then it's like, okay, you're coachable.
Right. That's right. That's why you said I was a coachable. Only because I was a coachable. You said that
Yeah.
from the beginning. That's right. Do you remember the one book that stood the most out of the rest of them, that you kind of like took every word and it was relevant to you? And because that's what I do. I usually highlight, and then I can go back and just reread that again and highlight. Was there one book like that?
Relentless by Tim Grover.
Oh, wow. That's good. That's good.
I probably have listened to, I do Audible books. So it's one of those books that I probably could, you know, read from or like tell you word from word. But I don't know. It's like to a T of how I am. It's like just being that get to my level or get out of my way, like Michael Jordan was in basketball. And it's like we lost a lot of these just core values of holding each other accountable.
That's really good when you say the values of being accountable. I think that's where it should start, is like,
Mhm.
what do we value more, talent or we value more integrity? It starts with
Yeah.
that. And I have a business as well, and I have like over 1,000 of different employees working for me in Europe, in Australia, and elsewhere. And when you had a chance to work with so many people, I came to one conclusion. I would prefer to take a person with less talents but with integrity than I would take the person with the talent but lacking the integrity, because
For
it's
sure.
it's the accountability that's what counts. Because with the person who understands the true value of that person becomes coachable, like you saying, that willingness and to work hard and to have the trust between one another. Because if there is no accountability, you lose in trust, and if there is no trust, that there is no long-term relationship that we can build, and therefore we can achieve nothing
And
that is
see, talk about
worthwhile.
like going deeper here. It's like, okay, you would want that out of your best friend or the friends around you. And then you bring it to like, why do you have those people in your life if we're not holding each other accountable to the words that we say? And it's like, there's anybody around me. You're the one who said you want to do X, Y, Z. So when I challenge you on it, now why am I the bad guy? No, I'm holding you
That's
accountable to the
right.
words that you said. I am here to help you get to that. Like I will, lead you in any way that I know that I see fit for you at that time in your journey. But what happened to learning from like all 1,000 of those people that you have on your team? Like they bring something to your life. You can learn so much from those around you.
Wow. So what do you want to achieve next? I mean, it's like
Uh,
when you hear like you have achieved this in 3 years, this in 4 months, it's like anything possible for you.
I still have one more life to live, and I like another person for me to become is how I feel. But right now, this year, now that I'm squared away in where I'm at in my personal life, I am ready to take on and helping other investors start their journey and not be scared. Like, let me hold your hand so you can realize that there's nothing to be scared of here. So I can like let you go and create you as a leader in your own business. Because a lot of people like have the great ideas, but they don't know how to get started. And we're only scared of the things that we don't know. So I'm
Right.
excited to step in and just lead people like, look, I want to do a couple deals with you and then it's time for you to fly. I created a lot of personal trainers when out of my clients when I was a trainer, that now it's time for me to turn the, corner here and lead other people.
That's very interesting. If you could give more information about that. So is relates only to the real estate business, or this is about entrepreneurship in general? Like that person want to start like this business wellness center, you would, but because they're scared, there's a lot of unknown and there is money to invest, and you help them through that startup process. Or
Yeah,
is
it's
this
just
is relates only to the real estate?
very much as an entrepreneur in general. The pattern, the recipe does not change no matter if it's a goal of just going to read a book in a park to owning a house. Like the pattern doesn't change. And so it's more of like, I want to help people be free to be the person that I see inside of them to become.
I see. I see. No, that's exactly what I'm doing currently, because my son, my second youngest son, is going through the process of a startup, a completely new business, because my older son, he was able to join my company, and there you basically help him step by step. But David, who is my second son, he's just like taking this challenge upon himself and keeps everything to himself, kind of like, hey, Dad, I really don't need your help, and I don't know how to react on that. I just really don't know whether I should be applauding or should I actually be worried about, because I'm also don't know where he leads me to, because whether this is going to be a successful overall, or whether, and it's kind of like, I trust you, but I wish I knew more details in it.
But here's the thing, it doesn't matter. And it's none of your business, where he's going. Like, you have to believe that you have raised him right to like go and make this decision. And it's not for you to know. Like, that no matter where he ends up, you're going to be right there for him as the mentor or the parent that he's always looked up to. And guess what? You're going to figure it out no matter where he ends.
Wow, you do really, really well. You just helped me actually to feel much better.
So wait a minute, did I actually?
Yeah, that's that's your call, and
True?
that is your call, and because you make me feel better. How do you handle the stress that comes with responsibility in your life? You don't tell me that you don't have stress.
I have stress. I mean, look at the gray hair. Okay.
Well, if you're 53, for the 53, you look amazing.
Oh no, I'm 39.
Yeah, for 39, you look amazing. You look amazing.
But the handle of stress. I mean, my bank mentor, that's what I call him. He really put it to me straight back in October. He's like, Brooke, like every job, no matter what it is you do, has stress. So he's like, just pick your stress. But what was hard during like me competing, I got rid of all my stress. And every goal I've ever had up until real estate, I never had to work with somebody to get to my goal. So now I have to work with people, and I'm just like, oh man, like no wonder, like people are their own worst enemy, right? So it creates a lot of stress. But just knowing that I have my different outlets, I still lift a lot, and that helps. Helps a lot the last couple of months. But obviously, until you learn that new habit or that new process, you're going to be stressed out of those unknowns. And once you learn, you're like, okay, well, I'm not too scared. And like, what's a couple more zeros behind that purchase? It's still,
Right.
like, Brooke, you buy a bottle of water, you buy a house. It's still a purchase. So don't get hung up on those zeros.
Right. I want to ask you a question. How would you define success?
That's a good question, because I always thought,
because the reason I'm not always asking this question, but I know I'm talking to the very wise woman. You're not only successful, but what I like about you, you're a deep thinker. You're a very deep thinker. That's why when I throw you a word, coach or mentor, you're not answering like everybody does. You're not answering. You really think before you answering, and all of your answers come from your experience. So that's why when I ask you, how do you find the success?
Growing until like 8 years old, we were like, already drawing our pictures for the multi-level marketing, for my parents to be, motivated to go and be successful. So at a very young age, you have this vision of what success is, right? We all want to chase this dream. And some of us, guy quit yesterday right before his success. And that killed me to see, but it's not my responsibility to wake people who aren't meant to be woke, right? And you're like, oh, you're right, there's a success, but you can't help everyone, is what I was going to tell you with your son too, right? And so you have to know that, you can be there along the way to help. But with his success, like I got to the top trainer in Ohio, and they wanted me to like go and do that for other trainers. Then I knocked myself back down and I became world's strongest woman. So that was the top of that journey. Then I knocked myself back down again, built in real estate. So I've had, 3 figure companies. And you think, okay, feel successful, but you get to the top and it's just kind of like, well, why am I here? Like,
Hmm.
there's nobody here with you. And so when I was building real estate, I was like, no, I'm going to change it to be different than what I did with personal training, World's Strongest Woman. And I want people to be along the journey to be at the top with me,
Oh,
because
that's
to be
really
like
good.
that, we're all winning together. And there's a lot of people who can't see that vision, but the ones that are around and who have been around for me, like especially my ex-husband, he's been with me part of my journey for 22 years. And, he's like, okay, well, I'm holding on for the roller coaster because he knows it's going to be a fun ride. And he
Wow.
doesn't leave. And he doesn't have any reason to stay around, to be my friend,
Hmm.
not alone, be around for the ride. So I don't know. Success to me is whatever you want it to be. It's whether you're making that new recipe and you're like, oh man, this is great. Or having a picnic with your family. That was successful. Having no expectation to get in the way of what you want that moment to be like.
Wow. That's only humble person could say that, to have no expectation to what that moment would be. It takes a lot of being as a humble. You can actually say that. So I do appreciate that a lot. And I think what you mentioned is it's like successful. I mean, the way society see it, the way society draws the success is like if you have, yes, if you achieved and you become the strongest woman in the world, that is success. You have this huge achievement. But then some years ago, I met like Olympians who are in figure skating championships. They were like the best, this Russian couple. They won every, competition that was out there. They won. And during our meeting, they also won another competition here in US. So, and when I talked to them, asking them about their life journey, and they said, yes, goals, they bring a lot of discipline, purpose, meaning in life. But all of a sudden, when you get there to the top and you have nothing to look up for tomorrow, and one of them said, all of a sudden, I felt like I'm empty. I felt empty. And there wasn't that demand that I felt before. So I felt insignificant, almost depressed, he said.
Yeah.
And he said, I couldn't understand myself. And then later he said, I realized it's not only me, there is many of us who feels that. So it's kind of like, and everybody look at you and say, you're successful. Why don't you feel great? And it's like, I have this void. I don't know how to feel this void now. And then later you become more, if this was all you could do, your career, maybe some of them could become a coach, but not everybody could become a successful coach. And you have nothing else to look up. And so it's like, then the other stuff you have to deal with. So to me, I'm not sure what faith plays in your life, the role the faith plays, but in my life, I came to realization that without faith that connects me to something bigger, something deeper, there is no way you can find the other niche, the long term, to fit to those needs that we have much deeper.
That's why it has to become something so much bigger than just you getting to the top. You get there and you're alone. We have such greater purpose with those around us in community. So, not everyone can be an Olympic, gold medalist. Not everyone can be world's strongest woman. Not everyone can have a multi-million-dollar company.
That's
right. But you know what? You rob those people that are around you who say like, oh man, I wish I could always, I could be strong like you. And it's like, no, we're all strong in our different ways. You can't compare that. Oh, well, man, I wish I could go buy a house, or I wish I could go, do what you do. And it's like, no, there is no wishing. Like, come on, let's join this, this roller coaster together.
Yeah, I could practically show you how you can own one yourself.
Not even them doing it, right? That doesn't even matter. That's not my point here. It's like, I don't care if people ever buy a house. It's more of like, you need to let them in on your journey to success, to let them have that experience.
Right.
Because you never get to experience it any other way. But in their minds, they wish they could be that person. But we have different things that we can give, because not everybody can be the 2%.
That's right. That's right.
It is, I mean, that's just, again, you have to build that community. We all have a platform that, the strong ones can build and allow everybody else to be a part of. So I
Uh,
think we got that purpose, and that way you're not ending your goal and your success on a low note. You have something so much more to give those around you.
That's right. Well, I can say one thing with certainty, that you will be amazing, amazing coach. And you are. And I know for sure, because you have such a good values that are not selfish, but unselfish. Because what you said is that success to me is helping other achieve their dreams, is whether this is to buy a real estate, whether this is achieve a gold medal, or else, or wherever I can help them. And that's when I feel satisfied, when they are satisfied. And that's such a great story. There is nothing else I want to add. And with that, I want to come to the end of our amazing podcast. I want to thank you for your time. And this is going to be definitely helpful for many, many other people. Through that, Brooke, you just help many, many other people to also run a marathon or to buy a real estate, because I know hope is not a strategy. Just like you mentioned, you have to work, you have to accept the reality in our life, but start with reading the books. That's all what it takes. Reading the books, reading the right material, or even go to watch a movie that will motivate you. So, because too often we stress over things that we have no agency to control. And when we do this, we lose control over the elements of our life that we can actually impact. And if we worry about the things that are out of our hands, it's impossible to take leadership over the things we can. So the wisdom, what we heard today, it says that the only things within our circle are thoughts, feelings, our language, our behaviors, and our actions, what we heard today from Brooke. So as Brooke, take control of things you can, and the things are not in your control, basically give it to God, right? That's right. And by taking accountability, you will succeed in life.
100%.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Mentors by Design podcast. This show is sponsored by Fine Designs. Learn more about how Fine Designs can supply apparel for your events at finedesigns.com.